Do you have anybody from the public coming in, Christian, or no?
No, no one indicated they were going to be coming. So I see there's one phone call. We'll let them in, and
2 phone calls.
oh yeah, we have 2. Yeah.
Now, Christian, we don't need a quorum, correct?
No, we have no real business to do. You know, the minutes, obviously, we can always kick them down the road until we do get a quorum from the November meeting. So.
By the same token, obviously, if we have a quorum, we can pass motions. Correct?
Yeah, that's why I put the stuff into the agenda. Just those pieces. We'll take care of them if we can. Otherwise, we'll put them in the old business section of the next meeting.
Hey, there's Wayne. Oh, where'd he go? There you are.
I see Karen's on the line. Karen, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you if we wanted to talk about a couple applications for Bristol?
If you just email me or you want to have a phone call.
What's your schedule like the rest of the week?
I think tomorrow is pretty open. Today I have another meeting this afternoon. So tomorrow I think is generally open. Tomorrow morning, is that a good time?
No, but anything after 2:33. How about, do you have anything after 3 o'clock?
Nope.
Why don't we say 3 o'clock? We can either do like a WebEx meeting.
Yeah, but whatever works for you. Or I could set it up through Teams, or we could do Zoom, whatever.
Okay, I'll send you something so you know who on my end I want there.
Okay, I'll probably, if Christian's available, have him in on it too.
Okay.
All right, I got 11 on my clock.
Okay, we'll get started then. Thanks for everybody for attending virtually in this crazy new world we have. Just kind of going down the agenda. Meeting commencement, public comment. Is there anybody from the public?
I did not receive any comments or indication that any members of the public would be tuning in, Ray. I do want to do a roll call, though, with us being virtual.
Welcome to the webinar.
See if we have a quorum or what.
The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line.
Is that, mind if I jump into that?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. So, Ansonia?
I saw Sheila somewhere.
Yeah, I saw her go on too. Bethlehem?
Leonard's here.
Yeah, I saw First Selectman start as well. Bristol?
Here.
Derby? Seymour? Shelton? Beacon Falls,
The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain
Oxford,
on the line.
Prospect, Naugatuck.
Yeah, Wayne and I are here.
All right. Waterbury.
Yep. Obelgum is here.
Thanks, Paul. Watertown. Woodbury. Plymouth.
Plymouth is here.
All right. Thomaston.
Thomaston's here.
Middlebury. Cheshire.
Here, Dan Bombero.
Hi, Dan. Southbury. Anyone from DOT? And if NVCOG staff could just say who's on, this is Christian Meyer.
Karen Svets?
Joanna Rogalski.
Mark Nielsen.
John DiCarlo.
Richard Crowther.
And was there anyone I failed to call?
We did have a couple enter as you were doing roll call. Brian,
Hello.
All right, we got Seymour.
Oxford.
Oxford, okay. Hey, that is one, two,
Okay, Christian, so there's no public comment. We went through roll call. And do we have a quorum to approve meeting minutes?
We do have a quorum.
Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 19th?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second, Lenny Astrid Bethlehem.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Let's learn about that. So, schedule a meeting, who can be there?
The next item is transportation planning, a report of 2021, 2021 for CMV for the MPO from
And this is-
Christian.
And this, Ray, is where we've switched up the agenda. We're gonna bump household hazardous waste and then emergency management to the top. Then we'll go right back into our regular agenda if that works for you.
It's fine with
The
me.
conflicting webinar on at 11:30.
Hmm.
So that's John.
John,
For a webinar at 11:30. Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, we can
All
hear.
right. For the 16 towns in our household hazardous waste program, our next event is scheduled for July 18th at Crosby High School in Waterbury. I really want to put it out to the towns that participate in this right now, because we have to decide if we're going to go forward with it or not by the beginning of June, because we have to put advertisements out if we're going to hold it in a slightly different manner. Then we also have to discuss that, and I need to get a little bit of feedback if I can from the towns that participate in it now. In some cases, you have a recycling coordinator that does this or who works underneath the public works director. But a couple of entities in Connecticut are going to be holding these starting in June. The suggestions that have been made to holding one of these in July would be that, as similar to what was suggested for the April 4th one we did not hold, was we could have limited interaction with the public, that even more limited than we already do, that we could have, our people send out, each public works department sends out somebody who staffs the line, hands out the sheets and takes them back. In this case, what's been suggested is holding out, the resident would hold their driver's license to the window. We would check off on a sheet what town they're from and move them along the line. The residents cannot get out of the vehicles. Everyone wears masks. Everyone with our vendor MXI is practicing the social distancing they need to do. It may move slower because they can't send as many people to a car that they would with the carts, but we would pretty much require everyone to keep all the household hazardous waste stuff in the back trunk area of the vehicle, so they wouldn't be pulling it out of a passenger compartment. These are some of the things that have been suggested. And I want to get some feedback from the towns that participate in this. If you feel we should be going forward, like I said, MXI is starting to do these in June and July. We can do it, but I want to hear what your thoughts, put it out on the floor for thoughts of conducting this July 18th.
Mostly everybody's muted, so if you wanted to talk, you would have to unmute yourself.
And I hope someone wants to talk, because we're going to put it out in an email. But since we're having this meeting today, I figured it would be best, you know, to kind of get some thoughts of some of the same people are going to make these decisions for the towns when we send an email out.
John, this is Ray Rogozinski, and from MXI's perspective, do they have any concerns?
They don't. They feel that they're perfectly set up to do this with the limitations that they have. And RiverCog is going to be doing one July 18th, similar to ours. They're actually going to be doing one a week or 2 weeks from this Saturday. RiverCog has two kinds of household hazardous waste events. They have one that the people can come to occasionally that's at a permanent facility, and they also have, similar to ours, in a satellite thing where anybody from any of the towns can go certain times a month. They're going to be doing one of their bigger satellite events the week after ours. The Housatonic Hazardous or the Housatonic Recovery Authority is going to be doing one also before ours, and they're starting to lay out the similar things that I described as far as much more limited action with the residents, interaction with the residents on behalf of our people. No communal coffee, limiting the interaction between workers and also between the public and us. But we've already canceled one of these this year. You know, I know, thank you for the question, Ray. I know Bristol doesn't participate in ours at this time, but I'd like to hear from the towns that do participate as far as your thoughts on going forward on this or not. We have the option of not doing it, but it seems like the majority of towns are starting to actually go back to doing these with limited interaction. So please weigh in if you can.
John, this is Lenny from Bethlehem. I think if you go ahead with those restrictions, I think it'll work out all right. People have to get back to some kind of normal, even if normal is just still getting rid of their stuff.
Thank you, Lenny.
John, Glenn from Thomas, and I also agree. I think that we should go forward with the restrictions.
Okay, anybody else?
I would agree from Naugatuck.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jim. We're going to send out something right after Memorial Day that, you know, we had this discussion and we want to hear from everyone. But at the same point, the initial feedback is that we're going to go forward with this, with the restrictions that'll be far more spelled out in an email, and will probably be refined even more as we get closer to the date. But one of the good things regarding this, I assume we're going to get a large turnout because we didn't have a spring one, and it's a central location in Waterbury. In planning this one out, we seem to have a lot of room to stack up the cars in Crosby's facility. There's a lot of driveway to work with there, and the city of Waterbury was really good in helping plan this and use that location. So I'm happy to go forward with planning it, and we'll send out something right after the holiday with the details. And any questions, don't hesitate to send them my way, please.
Okay, thank you, John, and thanks everybody, you know, providing the feedback. So Christian, I guess we're moving back to the regular agenda item, which is on transportation planning.
Christian, unmute.
Christian, are you there? No.
There we go. Sorry, one more unscheduled event. This is Joanna Rogalski with Emergency Management Update.
Okay, give me just one moment, guys. I got to bring my document up. Let's see. Okay.
Sorry, were you asking if I was on the line?
We did a roll
At
call
one
earlier,
point.
Sheila, but I got you. We'd seen your name.
Okay, thanks, Christian. Sorry, guys. I just had to take a call. Apologize. I'm back.
Okay. I'm ready. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what I'm talking about today is the local long-term recovery committees and local coordinators. This is an activity and a response that the state is doing from a long-term recovery perspective to the COVID-19 disaster. And recognizing that recovery begins in local communities, the state's proposing a structure of committees and public and private partnerships which will identify and meet needs arising from the COVID-19 disaster. Now, the FEMA disaster recovery support structure is being used. However, the state realizes that the typical FEMA disaster does not apply to COVID-19, whereas most recovery deals with physical infrastructure and housing. The COVID-19 disaster has much more effect on the economy, health, and social services. So the state's partnering with DEMIS, a Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, and using the DEMIS regions to organize a long-term recovery response. Now it aims to address needs at the local and regional levels. And those needs which cannot be met at those local and regional levels are brought to the state's attention. So what's happening right now, a lot of this response and these committees are being organized right now. So just taking it, breaking it apart a little bit. So addressing needs from the local level. So as part of the emergency operations plan in each municipality, a local recovery coordinator needs to be identified. The state would like this person to be a non-emergency responder and be someone who has knowledge of the community's needs. And this coordinator is being asked to form a local long-term recovery committee to help identify these communities' needs. Now, taking it from the regional and state levels. So each DEMIS region has been asked to form a a long-term recovery steering committee, which would be comprised of public, nonprofit, and philanthropic members who are recognized experts in the areas of recovery that are deemed important by that committee. So each steering committee member will head their own subcommittee focused on an area of recovery. And I've been meeting with DEMIS Region 5, and these particular areas that have been identified include regional coordination, philanthropy and finance, education and technology, health and human services, jobs and business, and cultural resources and recreation. So the big question is, how do these local needs be met? And if they're not met, how do they get raised to the state level to be addressed? So the idea is that the local coordinators in municipalities or groups of municipalities will be meeting regularly to identify unmet needs in their communities. And the local coordinators will communicate those needs to the COGs and to the subcommittees. The COGs and subcommittees will attempt to match resources to the need. And if the need cannot be met at this level, the need will be brought to the steering committee, who passes it on to DEMIS in the state. And as I said, a lot of this whole structure is being created right now. The steering committees are currently being formed and will be given guidance from DEMIS in the state. The COGs in Region 5 will each have a representative on this steering committee. Concurrently, we're hoping that there is activity at the local level to identify and appoint local recovery coordinators. The NVCOG is currently monitoring, asking each of the municipalities who has been identified, and we're assisting if the municipalities are asking for our assistance. I know I've thrown a lot at you, but I just wanted you to know that the COG is involved in this process. And you know, if you do need help with your local, identifying your local, putting together your local recovery committee, you know, we're here to help you out in any way possible. What I do want to stress, though, is that these committees are specifically dealing with needs that have arisen from this COVID-19 emergency and disaster. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Yeah, Joanne, I have someone in mind to do this. Could I have them contact you?
Absolutely, yeah. And I've been, there's been another colleague, Gabe Filer, who has been reaching out to the communities. But yeah, you can pass it on to me. Christian, could you give my email address at the end of the meeting? Okay.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay.
Right. Thanks, Joanne.
And I'll be giving you guys, hopefully at the next TTAC meeting, an update on what's going on with this. And really, the state really wants these needs to be first identified at the local level. And, hopefully that at this regional level between the health districts, the community foundations and the COGs, hopefully we can address those needs at this regional level. But if there's something that's happening in a lot of groups of communities, we want those needs to be identified and the state know about them.
Now, Joanne, this is in addition to the team at a local level that all municipalities, my understanding, have been putting together?
Right. So this is the local level teams are part of this. The local level committees, I should say. And what's happening concurrently is they want a committee, a steering committee at the Demis regional scale to be meeting and to be talking about, well, we've noticed this has been identified, and so that there's two different things that are happening at the same time: the local committees and this steering committee.
Now, certainly I'm sure all the municipalities, are aware of it, because I believe I even, like there's been every Wednesday, the state's been having, a municipal call, with the governors, that been, helpful. And then quite frankly, at a local level, we've been having it's, really almost like an enhanced, staff meeting, because it's not just, the city government side, but it's also our health department and our Board of Ed. We've been having a weekly meeting on the coronavirus, issues, and certainly the issue now is trying to, provide assistance expediting, for outdoor dining, and which leads me to my question, because our mayor forwarded me a text of I'm not sure if it was from Putnam or Ansonia, but it was a picture of a main street with Jersey barriers installed to support restaurants. And I guess, Sheila, is that actually Ansonia? And if so, where did you get all the Jersey barriers from?
Yeah, that's Ansonia. The Jersey barriers are from our Public Works Department.
So you had that many of them, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and we did purchase some as well. So that's where those are coming from.
Because we just didn't have that. We don't have that many. We couldn't do that on our main street. And in all fairness, I didn't necessarily try purchase them, but I got the feeling that it would be tough to get that many of them. So you happen to have that many on hand.
Yeah, we had extras. Some of the restaurants even have them because they've been doing some outdoor dining in the past. They have patios, but we don't have a lot of restaurants that are going to utilize the outdoor dining capability if they're being asked. Most of them are not going to do that because they want to or don't want to interfere with takeout services and don't want to make it difficult for their customers. So we're kind of getting a mixed bag of reaction about whether they're going to use the outdoor area or not, but we hope we're prepared. That's our mainstay on Main Street, the restaurants.
So in Bristol, our development authority is really the point for that. Public Works, which is lane use is under Public Works in Bristol, along with engineering. In an engineering, we provided like a staff member just to really assist on the sketches associated with that program. But so far, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of requests for those, but
and I think there's a lot of there's a few hoops that you have to jump through, both on the local and the state level. So it might not, I don't know if it's going to be worth it to the restaurants, but we want to make sure we have that option available.
Can't do that much around home.
I think we're doing 4 in Bristol so far.
Yeah, I think we have about 5 or 6.
So thank you very much for that information, Joanna. So we should, all municipalities you're saying should forward you what their contact person is?
Yeah. We've been reaching out to, Region 5, Paul Gibbs been reaching out to all the 43 municipalities. We at NVCOG were also reaching out to Bristol and the 5 towns that are part of Region 2. For the purposes of these steering committees and this effort, this COVID-19 response effort, we're trying to match the COG boundaries as closely as possible. So Bristol and Ansonia, Shelton, Seymour, Derby, and Cheshire will also be part of the Region 5 efforts.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I guess for the next item on the agenda, I'll defer to Christian and he'll notify us.
Gotta unmute Christian.
Thank you. Back to our regularly scheduled agenda. We're putting together the 2021-2024 update to the Transportation Improvement Program. This is the Central Naugatuck+Valley MPO. We're also in the process of pulling projects together for the Greater Bridgeport Valley. For the portion of the Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO that is in the NVCOG, so that's the 4 valley towns. I sent out a list of all the projects currently included, provided to us by the DOT. I encourage you to take a look at especially the first few pages, which are going to be your town-specific projects. There aren't projects in every town, but these are going to be the most visible projects. Some of them, if there are any projects you think should be included or you thought would be included that haven't been, let us know and we can work with DOT. They probably have to be amended later if they haven't been included in the air quality assessment. But that's something we can work to make sure they get into the TIP and get federal funds assigned. Certainly any questions at this time I'd be happy to take regarding the TIP. All right, seeing none, I'll just keep going. Wanted to give everybody a quick review of some of the tools we're using in-house to track traffic volumes, both throughout the region, but even across a wider geography. Let me just pull up. So one of the, I think, most valuable tools is the CTDOT has their continuous count stations available online, and they update this essentially daily. So looking at these stations right here, we can see the drop off in early March when the stay-at-home orders went into place. You can peck around and find a station that's as close to you as you might be able to get. And looking at this data pretty regularly, I'm noticing a slight uptick that's beginning to happen. I think people are beginning to venture out a little more often, so you're seeing those daily counts begin to increase. The way to get to this site, I can supply a link to you, but essentially what I do is I go to their AADT, the DOT's AADT site, which is their traffic monitoring site. So type in CTDOT and traffic counts or AADT, you should be able to find this quickly. Some of the other sites we've been using are Streetlight Data. This is the agency, we have a subscription to their data platform. They've made this map available for free. It's the country as a whole. And if I hover over New Haven County, you can see that as opposed to year-over-year levels of VMT, we've seen we're looking at on the 15th of May, a 50% decrease. Again, talking about those sort of observed trends, if we jump back to May 1st and update that map, that decrease was closer to 70%. So from the traffic counts, you're seeing fewer trips being taken, but from these VMT maps, you're also seeing those trips are shorter, those ones that are being taken. And but we are seeing a more recent trend towards an increase in volume. So using our subscription to the Streetlight platform, I pulled up a couple locations just across the region. And this is from closer to the beginning of May again. But you see, the drop in local counts is similar to what we saw at the state level or even a national level, around 40%. with some exceptions being where there's a higher proportion of office space. So if you look at the Shelton Old Stratford Road count I pulled off Streetlight, that's 10% greater drop in volumes because that services the corporate park there in Shelton. And I think as we're all aware, those who could work from home kind of quickly made that transition. I mean, even you look a little further up Bridgeport Ave in Shelton, a little further up Bridgeport Avenue in Shelton, those numbers go right back down to closer to 40%. So again, these are some of the numbers we're watching. Question? Yeah, go ahead.
Can you send that to us as a PDF?
Just that table?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or the whole sheet, the whole, slide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll send this, I'll distribute the slides from today, and embedded right in this slide are hyperlinks to both the CTDOT continuous counts and also that Streetlight national map, VMT map. So you should be able to access that. And I just do want to offer, we have the subscription to Streetlight. If there are any specific locations you're interested in looking at, maybe perhaps your community, if you want to see what drop-in, what the impact of the stay-at-home orders might have been, feel free to get in touch with us. Or again, just regular volume counts. If you want to take a look at a more normal time, then the current situation where volumes are depressed 40%, we can go back to 2019 or even January 2020 and pull up the pre stay-at-home order numbers for you. So that's also something we'd like to offer. With regard to Streetlight, we're also working closely with the DOT at this time, trying to see if we can use this data source for some preliminary engineering studies, turn counts, these type of things. We don't have an answer yet from them, but we're working with the vendor and DOT, trying to see if that's going to be a possibility going forward. Because again, in these atypical times, finding a more realistic volume numbers may be important. Further questions?
Yeah, this is John Cattell from Salisbury. My question is, you're saying street light data. Is this street lights or traffic light data?
So this is a poorly named company. Streetlight data doesn't take any information about streetlights. So I try to call it either always Streetlight Data Platform, but what they're using is they're using location-based services. So they're taking data from your cell phone if you sign up for a restaurant app or a dating app or some navigation apps, I believe they also have access to. And they're using the location samples from your phone to establish trips. They can distinguish between cars and based on speed and pattern, cyclists and pedestrians. And we're able to look at an origin destination. We can look at an AADT. We can look at some other cool some other cool analyses. I think I've shown this group a little bit in the past. Worked with a number of your communities as well on some one-off analyses. But no, this is cell phone data, not streetlight data.
Okay, well, I was a little confused on that. Thank you.
Yep, not the first. Any other questions? All right, moving on. I just want to give the group a quick LOTSIP update. The program is still going forward. We held a third-party review meeting yesterday. We're doing it all virtually. Karen's able to get those bids out. She's reviewing documents as you submit them to her. She's submitting them on to DOT. Everything's basically functioning as it would normally without the in-person meetings. Just a snapshot of where we are as a program. We've completed 8 projects. I want to, asterisk that and say projects like Sonia's project, Prindle Drive, which is all but finished, are still included in the under construction, just because as they work their way through their punch list. So a number of those under construction projects really deserve to be moved on to the completed, certainly in the next couple of weeks to months. We got 10 projects under design, but we'd expect, again, 3 or 4 of those to jump into the construction phase in the next coming months as the construction season really gets underway. And obviously a large number are working their way through the design process. 4 still under review at DOT. We'd like to see that number come down. Some of those have been there for longer than we'd like to think. And then we're still taking new applications. So Financially, we're still over-programmed and running the program as quickly as we can. DOT has not asked us to hit the brakes yet, so we're gonna keep going. Questions about lots of projects in your communities?
Yeah, Kristen, how's the Thomaston project coming?
I'll let Karen jump in here. She's got more of the details on a project-by-project basis, but my understanding is that's just about ready to get authorization.
Yeah, I believe it's back at DOT and they're just waiting for them to give it the final blessing.
How about, Christian or Karen, how about North Main Street? Sorry if I missed it.
Oh, we haven't heard anything from Bill.
Okay.
You haven't heard anything out there
Okay, I'll
since our
follow
last
up.
meeting.
I'll follow up with him.
State Street, right?
Yeah, he owes you stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kristen, are sidewalks allowed to be into this lot?
They are.
That's a complicated question.
It is a loaded question, Glenn. Maintenance is not new. New and improvements are. So we've done some where we took on larger road projects where sidewalks have been upgraded from, say, bituminous concrete to real poured concrete. And then, but as far as, or where we built new sidewalks, Glenn, as well. But we maintenance of sidewalks is not something that is included.
Christian, I don't want to interrupt if other people want to comment on their projects, but I wanted to add something that's keeps coming up when I send projects that are the designs are final and I send them off to DOT to get their final approval. Something that's been coming back lately, the last several projects, is that the designers have put an item in the construction contract for test pits in case there's interference with utilities. And the DOT keeps coming back and saying, this shouldn't be in the construction phase. The test pits should be done as part of the design. The designer should be arranging for that. And so far they've been letting them squeak through, but I think they're, eventually gonna kind of clamp down on this. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that if you have, projects that are under design, and there are utilities, that the test pits, you need to arrange this with your designer, that the test pits need to be, and the utility coordination all needs to be done during the design phase.
All right. Hearing no further questions on LOTSIP, Ray, the next item is community roundtable.
I guess just a, what's new? Well, I guess the better question is what's not. So, for Bristol, which I believe is similar to a lot of, communities, what we've done is we have, adjusted staff. So, certainly every public works is different, but, in Bristol, there's 7 divisions and we have adjusted staff and schedules, throughout, public works. So some of the staff reports here at City Hall, others of them at our city yard facility operations. So here at the, at City Hall, which really consists of, engineering, our administrative staff, our building maintenance, supervisors, and our land use, we essentially allowed them to, a lot of them from work from home. But even when they were working from home, most of them we rotated, in. So we always had, some coverage, in the building as for a, for each, division. And then, certainly, our City Hall is closed to the general public. our regular maintenance staff, which always worked on 2 shifts, we really didn't adjust, at all. And that's our maintenance and building custodian, staff. And then on the operations side, for solid waste operations, we allowed our driver collectors to, and instructed them just to kind of go directly to their vehicles, to their trucks, and they were actually able to leave when their routes were done. And the whole concept throughout our plan, like everybody else, is try to, decrease building density. For our streets division and our fleet vehicle maintenance division, we divided the crews, the divisions up into 2 crews, and literally we, half of them, didn't work. They worked on one week, off another week, although they were always available for call-ins. And there was a number of times throughout this that we've, called them in. We're actually going to full staffing back on next Tuesday, the day after, Memorial Day. So for City Hall, it's having everybody back in the building. Once again, at our building operations facility, or the equivalent of our city yard, we're going to have everybody work the full day, including solid waste driver collectors. But we are having them the flexibility to come in and come in a half hour early, at work a standard 8-hour day, and leave. So their hours will be 6:30 to 2:30. And we're also doing that with our fleet vehicle maintenance staff. We essentially keep the crews, the division staff divided. We have, but we're staggering their start and stop time by a half hour, once again, just to kind of decrease density in the morning and in the afternoon, when crews tend to linger. And then at this point, our streets division is staying as is. Certainly the biggest challenge in Bristol, particularly myself throughout this, has been, personnel issues, but in general, our staff has held up, pretty good. So that's kind of a brief summary of what, Bristol's been through. I'd love to hear what other communities' experiences are and some of the challenges that they're experiencing. Anybody else want to go through what they been experiencing? Jim, how about Naugatuck? Now we're going to call on people.
Oh, sorry. I'm laughing hard. I'm like wondering how long he's going to take. We've done a lot of the similar things. We separated our street crews. Everyone still kept working normal hours. There are a few guys who had some issues. They came in early, as you said, and then were able to leave early. We put them on a singular task. We separated our street, park, and golf crews so that they didn't intermingle. Our town hall is still pretty much working from home or coming in as needed kind of thing. Wayne is still working from home, right, Wayne? I'm calling our public works secretaries back as of Wednesday.
Did we lose the?
I think maybe we just lost
the audio.
Yeah, everybody else seems to be.
So Ray, are you just asking specific to Public Works or the entire city staff?
I think, it's a round table. So anything, that you want to share with the group.
Yeah, so we plan on getting City Hall staff back in by next week. But, it's going to be only those people with their own office, sort of a staggered shift, appointments only. Public Works has been doing like a split shifts. So we don't have anybody driving in the truck with anyone else, but they're gonna come back June 1 to full shift, back to capacity. Our tax office, our town clerk, and our assessor's office have been coming in and out as needed. The mayor has been there 24/7. I think he sleeps there, but I'm not positive. But that also means he has a tendency to let people in. So we're a bit concerned about that. We're having everything cleaned, and but the hope is to get everybody moved back in by next week.
Anybody else?
So this is Christian again. I just have a question for the group, just because there's a number of you out there. What do you guys have an approach for addressing those sort of high touch areas?
Yeah.
So for Bristol, certainly that's been a center of attention for our maintenance, staff. But we also hired a company to do supplemental cleaning. So we have them coming in. At one point, they were coming in, 3 times, a week. Now we reduced it to 2 times a week, and that's typically in the evening. And they're hitting the common touch points. Very early on in the process, we had somebody in our corporation council that tested positive for coronavirus. So that was the specific driver of getting them in, and then we kind of maintained it. And we also, in addition to City Hall, we've rotated some of the buildings. So there's they've done the library, although our library is not open to the public, our senior center, and our actually common areas are our police department. So that's been another resource that we've used. Anybody else have anything you want to share with the group? Okay. Well, thanks for doing this meeting virtually, and thanks for the NVCOG staff for putting it together. And we'll meet again, probably, I don't know, I guess we'll play it by ear, virtually or in person.
Yeah, next scheduled meeting is for the 28th of July, so we can do this again this way. It works well. We're set up to do it, but we'll wait and see.
I'm supposed to be on vacation in Maine, so I guess either if I'm vacation in Maine, maybe I can still participate virtually. Although if I went to Maine now, I guess I would have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, you would, Ray. Now, and that will mean I will be in charge, Ray. You don't want that. So, all right. Thanks,
the group
everybody.
will be in good hands.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you. To adjourn?
Meeting, motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks.
Thank you all.